Business ownership has never been hotter, but how do you do it? That's where I come in. Allow me to guide you on your journey. Welcome to Ion Franchise. This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. Up next. So do you have to be handy?
No more than putting together IKEA furniture.
Oof, I might be out though.
Yeah, that does weed people out right away.
Scale is nothing more than having the right system and having the right people. What say you, Mr. Kelsey? I love that you brought up the F word, fear. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. And I'm your host, Lance Graulich. You know, we're going to go through the blind business, the window covering business, if you will, a favorite brand of mine. I have the co-founder, one of them, of Bloomin Blinds, Kelsey Stuart. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, happy to be here, Lance. Appreciate the invite.
It's my absolute pleasure. I'm excited to speak with you. And I just saw you at our annual conference in good old Orlando when I was dressed up as, I'm not exactly sure what we were, but got a lot of attention with my white face and all that we did.
I think you were a Victorian aristocrat. This was you 200 years ago is what I envisioned.
That's what my wife said. We were 1700 to 1800s. Who knows? So welcome to the show. Let's talk about franchising and Bloomin Blinds. You know, Kelsey, before we dive into your history in franchising and how this all came about, we know you didn't grow up thinking, I'm going to own a franchise brand or anything. It seems like nobody ends up thinking that these days. But what is it about franchising? Like, why should somebody listening be interested in a franchise as opposed to creating their own thing or buying an existing business? There's a lot of chatter online about that.
I think there's room for those that should be creating their own thing. That's definitely a personality type, that creative individual. When you hand them a square, they have to turn it into a circle. Like, those people should go build their own thing.
Yeah.
Those that value systems and processes, those that see it as a pillar of strength versus a limiting of your freedoms, those that want to shorten the learning curve and use their resources to kind of get farther than they were than the time and experience would normally provide for. It's a catalyst to get to the front of the line or to have a shorter route to it.
Yeah. I always tell people, because there's this perception that, oh, franchisors, franchise brands, they just want your money. I said, well, in any great franchise, if the franchisor can't help you make money at a faster pace than you could on your own, something's wrong. Is that fair to say? I mean, if somebody got into the window covering business tomorrow, you know, I'm sure they're going to take a really, really long time to get to the level of a Bloomin Blinds franchisee. Is that fair to say?
It is. Well, you've got it from a couple different perspectives. I mean, just the infrastructure of setting up a website. You know, like, if you want to compete in a digital world, the days where you can just go to Wix or GoDaddy and put up a site and start ranking on page one, those are gone. Because you've got established local players, you have mom and pop, you have online retailers. There's a lot of competition. And so to build and push a really good site, I mean, you're going to spend more than the franchise fee just in the website development alone.
Yeah.
Education, knowledge, all those things, those take time, and franchising allows you to get a mentor, a coach, a vested party who's walking along with you, because their money is tied to your money, and we only get ours if you get yours.
Yep.
And that's a good alignment. That's healthy.
I love it. All right, so let's talk about how Bloomin Blinds started and how you got involved as the co-founder. Let's go deep in the history.
Yeah. And I'll try and keep it brief so we don't chew up all of our time. My parents are serial entrepreneurs. Never seen them have a 9-to-5. And in the sequence of events, my brothers and I are in high school. Mom gets a wild hair and buys a blind cleaning machine. She's never seen one before, so clearly our area needs one. Like, that's as much research that went into it. So I grew up with a blind cleaning tank in the garage and blinds hanging from the garage drying and whatnot. She ran that for 7 years, and that was kind of the first company that was in Washington. A company's called Blind Ambitions. It's still open now. She got divorced and wandered out of town. And so in 2001, she moved to Dallas. And my brothers and I migrated over the course of a couple of years to basically just moved. Like, we had nowhere else to, like, why not? Let's go hang out with mom. She didn't set up the business with the intention of us getting involved. We didn't move down there with the intention of getting involved. But me personally, I came down to visit before I moved, and I saw a sea of homes like I've never seen. The Dallas area builds, suburban environments, and the topography in Seattle doesn't really allow for that.
Yeah.
And so understanding they're in home service, and I see these sea of homes, like my eyeballs just flipped over like a slot machine on a winning day. So I very quickly moved down and began to work for mom. In fact, working for her is probably not the right way to say it. She basically said, I don't have the money to pay you, so if you want a job, you have to go create it. You have to go generate the business so that I can pay you. So I worked for free for about 9 months. Was a bartender at night, and I was out hustling during the day trying to promote Bloomin Blinds. We grew that over time, 18 years as a family business. Towards the tail end of that, I finally talked mom into letting me franchise it. And that was 2014. And first location opened up in early 15. And we've just progressively figured out what it meant to be a franchisor over the course of time.
I love it. So tell us about Bloomin Blinds and what services it provides and why Bloomin Blinds is different.
Yeah. Here's the dirty secret. We all sell the same stuff for about the same price. And so our differentiation has never been focused on the product or the price. We are a full service window covering company, a full catalog, if you will, both inside the house and outside the house. If it covers up a window or a patio, odds are we provide it. Mm-hmm. In the market, part of our differentiation is we're one of the few companies nationwide that will do repairs. And so we have the capability and the parts to get to a house that we didn't fill up and put it back together after the dog chewed on it, or strings wore out, or a Barbie flew through it. I've seen that. And so we can fix it on the kitchen counter and earn the customer and their future business by being willing to do the little jobs. And that's a differentiator. Very, very, very few companies do any level of repairs.
Yeah. So talk about the investment. If somebody's coming to Bloomin Blinds, the average person is not necessarily buying one territory. They're buying a few, maybe two, 2.5, 3. What's the average?
Right now, the average is 2.2. So we do have some that come in and buy a territory, whether that's by preference or limitations of capital. We have the empire builders that really want to build a significant business. They'll come in and buy 3, 4, 5 territories. But your average is 2.2. And that's a good, healthy population. You can do a lot. That's a big population. That's 500,000 people.
So if you're buying 2 territories, what is that investment?
So I'll reference it in cash and then I'll explain. So 2 territories is going to run all in with working capital just under $150,000. What is not included in that is a van. We work out of large cargo vans. Mm-hmm. They're $45,000, $50,000. And so I'm not including the financed van. I'm talking about cash involved.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when somebody starts, I would imagine if I line up your top 10% of high performing franchisees, they probably all come from different walks of life. Is that fair to say? You might have a lawyer, you might have a doctor, you might have a school teacher. I mean, what does that makeup look like to you?
Yeah, it's not about the history. It's about the achieving nature. It's about their drive, their grit. They're willing to work in delayed gratification scenarios. And there's a level of mental capacity. Like, we deal with a lot of moving parts, not only as business owners, but in the window covering industry itself. There's a good number of variables. It's far more of a mental business than it is a physical business.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a good indication when you mentioned, this isn't instant gratification. You know, it's kind of like the gym. You can't just go work out and then flex and think that, you know, hey, my body changed completely in one workout. It doesn't work like that, right?
Work out more often if that were true.
Yeah, if that's the case. So talk about who you're looking for in that franchisee. Someone you mentioned, someone that's willing to work hard, and grit seems to come up a lot in these types of conversations. Someone
Right.
not afraid of hard work. Is there a career path that somebody, you know, do they leave a corporate job and have some management skills? I mean, who works well in a Bloomin' Blinds franchise?
Oh, I definitely think that there's a level or a consistency or a significant percentage are coming from the corporate world, some sort of professional environment. Some of that is leadership, some of that is high achiever by nature, but there's also, because of the financial investment, like it's usually people who have come pretty far in their professional career so that they have the financial means to make choices like this.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just part of the equation.
Now, some people are going to pay cash,
Yeah.
use their cash, their retirement account. Other people are going to use an SBA loan. You're on
Mhm.
the SBA registry, you can use that. So, I mean, somebody $200,000 investment or so with the van and everything, you only put down $40,000. So, you're good with any. I know there's some licensing in certain states. That's just the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah, very limited states, but yes, that happens. Um, yeah, on the cash investment, 40 grand. I mean, it's funny because you and I, we play with things that have an extra zero on them. And so like to say, oh, you have to have 40 grand. Well, that's 40 grand to get into the business, but I'm going to protect you from using your last dime to get this thing started. I'm going to make
Right.
sure that you have working capital and you have a financial runway where you could let the business mature without panic.
Yes.
So you will need more than just that minimum amount. That's just a
Yes.
cash spent.
Good. You want to keep your franchisees safe. I get it.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about the training. What does it look like once you've found that right individual and they go to training? What does that look like? How much training are they bringing a manager to training? Is it typically two people that get trained? How does that work?
Yep. Well, most of our franchise owners are first-time business owners. Vast majority of them are first-time business owners. And that's great. I love that because I get to be their original mentor. So
And
we
no
have
bad habits.
not yet. So there's a 6 week, no, sorry, there's a 4 week training cycle that's virtual. And the real two major efforts there is business setup and introduction to the industry. So we're walking people through getting their EIN and their business checking account and, you know, things like that. If they don't already have it, our process is built to help them do that. And then there's the industry side where we're teaching them the vocabulary of the widget that we play with, window coverings. And the purpose is because after those 4 weeks, immediately following is a live 2 week hands-on laboratory. You're not sitting in a seat for 12 hours and your legs are going numb. This is a hands-on environment. And we warm them up through the onboarding cycle with the vocabulary so that when they're seeing and hearing these terms, it's not the first time, and retention has gone way up the more we invest in that process.
Yeah.
There's
So, do you have to be handy?
no more than putting together IKEA furniture.
Oof. I
Yeah.
might be out though.
Yeah, that does weed people out right away. No, like I said before, this is far more of a mental business. The handy part of it, the installation and the repair, that's the fulfillment of the plan. It's the plan that is the heavy lift. That's where the work is really done.
Got it.
And it's done through the sales and consultation process.
So, how do people know as they're listening to us? How do they know, and why would they know that window coverings, specifically Bloomin' Blinds, is for them? Like, there's a lot of options out there, whether I want to pick a painting franchise or, you know, HVAC. I know I'm not technical, so I might as well go all into something that I really don't know anything about and
Right.
hire the appropriate people. But how do you help people through that process?
I think it's safe to say, Lance, that no one has ever picked Bloomin' Blinds because of window coverings. It's the relationships, it's the people, it's who's supporting you, and the heart and the effort and the knowledge and the dedication to that. No one ever picks us because of our widget. People come into Bloomin Blinds, and you would hear this almost universally. It's because they felt like they were at home. They felt like
Yeah.
they had people that were rooting for them and that cared.
I
And
love
they
that.
would show up in the middle of the night or in the greatest moment of need.
Yeah. No, I love it. So how much money can you make? Everybody loves that question.
Yeah.
I know that you guys are really transparent in your item 19. And for those playing along at home with
Yeah.
that bingo card, I'm just joking. There is no bingo card, but every franchise brand produces a franchise disclosure document. It's updated every year. There's 23 items in it. Item number 19 is the earnings claim. Seems to be everybody's favorite. So what do you have to share about that good old item 19 at Bloomin Blinds?
Yeah. And ours is over 20 pages long.
Jeez.
So this is
Just the item 19 is
just the
that
item.
long.
Yeah. And it's not to wear someone out. It's quite the opposite. These are major chapters in somebody's life. We're messing with retirement funds. We're messing with kids' college opportunities like that. We take that very seriously. So the transparency prior to making a decision is really a matter of integrity for us. So there's a couple things. The system-wide average has a top line of about 550,000 annually. And I think that comes out to about 27%, 25% net. So that's before the owner takes any money out.
Right.
We also felt and see a very big dichotomy between owners that have one van and owners that have two or more vans. And so the two or more tells an entirely different story. A single van, a one-man show, that's 450 with a 27% take home or net. Those that have two or more vans in that set, we have 10 owners. 2 have 3 vans, 7 have 2. So the majority of these are 2 van owners. It's an average of 1.1 million with a 23% net. And maybe it's a 19. It's right in that 20% range.
Yeah.
And that's to be expected. Employees bring overhead, but they also bring more opportunities. So it's a smaller piece of the bigger.
Less time working in the business, more time working on the business, and more money from a 10,000-foot view.
Yeah. But we wanted to build that out so that those that had scalable aspirations, they could see the financial difference on, the system average is 550, but when you put that second van on the road or that third or fourth or fifth van on the road, that duplication absolutely magnifies the velocity of the business.
Yeah.
And for those that want it, we needed to showcase that we have data to prove if you can build it, they will come.
Yeah. And your highest franchisees, I mean, you have people doing multiple, 2 million plus.
Yeah, I've got this year, or I'm sorry, 23. I think I had 7 or 8 over $1 million. I think I had 2 of them right at 2 million. And this year, both of them are going to be up and over. One's almost 3 million. One of those guys jumped from almost doubled this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how does the team teach people on the side of scale? I've always told people that scale is nothing more than having the right system and having the right people. What say you, Mr. Kelsey?
Never tried to put it into a definition. I find most of it is prepping for the future, trying to get financially ready, trying to get mentally ready, and then getting over the fear. I think you can build and scale just about anything if you have those elements, or you have someone to guide you through those elements. And that's where we're strong. I serve the scale coach role. And so I'm working with those owners who have ambitious plans, and we're kind of laying it out, because I've been through this. I've done this for 20 years.
Yeah.
We had 7 vans on the road. We did $3 million a year before we had technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm helping those owners see 6 months, 12 months down the road and helping them get ready for it. That way, when the opportunity comes, you're poised and ready, and it's not going to pass by.
I love that you brought up the F word, fear. And the reality is it gets in a lot of people's way. Some people are, as you mentioned, satisfied with just really one van. and other people are scared of what that move looks like to grow. Oh, I have to hire more employees and I have to finance another van or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it's incredibly possible with any great franchise. So, and clearly you have that proof of concept being around forever. I wanted to ask you a little bit about validation.
Yeah.
So, as you have anybody that myself as a broker introduces you to, or you find them organically, as these people, prospective franchisees, progress in your process, what
Mhm.
does that validation period look like? Is there an opportunity to speak to existing franchisees about their experience? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have a set process where every Tuesday afternoon, there's a franchise owner who's on for a group validation call. Every Thursday, it's our leadership team, and we rotate through. And so there's always those opportunities, and in fact, we won't progress somebody until they've been through 5, 6, 7 of those calls. Like that is a requirement. We want you to hear it from others before you start coming on board. We also publish all of our franchise owners in the FTD, all their contact info, and we have elected to any location that is closed. We're in our 9th year of franchising, so any location that's ever closed, we still publish all of their names, their numbers, because I want you to hear all sides of it. And by and large, even the ones that are closed still have really nice things to say about us, about the business, and they'll tell the story about why it didn't work. And I have yet to get feedback that it was our fault.
Yeah, I love that. So that segues to a perfect question. Why do people fail in business, in a franchise, even?
Could be a lot of different things. The ones that I've seen, we've had a fair number of oddities, like not your untraditional stuff. I had a guy who got basically bought back by his former employer, came back and said, "We miss you. Here's a ton more money and a 2-tier promotion. Please come back." He shut it down. Last year, I had a guy who was running a one-man show, doing $500,000 a year, has been there 7 years, said he's been having fun. He's already made his money. He got his captain's license in Charleston, and he decided to shut down his business because he wanted to go drive ferry boats back and forth from Charleston to the Bahamas.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's not what you're looking for, and I get that.
Yeah.
So we've had some oddities. Yeah, and I don't think this is unique to Bloomin Blinds, but
Yeah.
it's the work ethic, it's the personal skills, it's the ability to pivot, and I'm thinking of one in particular. It's the willingness to be honest with yourself when the results aren't what you want.
Yeah.
To be able to take an honest look at that and say, okay, what I'm doing isn't working. I can't get stuck in this rut. How can I get help, and what can I do different?
Yes. Yeah. And back to mindset and fear, I always tell my clients, I say, you don't want any surprises when you're getting into a business. Keep
Mhm.
asking questions, get the answers to your questions. I had a gentleman call me the other day. He was investigating a brand. He's like, "Lance, I'm really stuck." And I called the rep from the brand and said, "Hey, he's stuck on this. What franchisees do you have for him to talk to get unstuck and get the information that he needs?" And
Yeah.
interestingly, it's funny, Kelsey, we're talking about, franchisees that have closed, or maybe even poor performing franchisees compared to the top level. I always tell my clientele, speak to the best franchisees you could speak to. And my philosophy for that is, if you want to improve your jump shot, and you're a basketball player, are you going to talk to Michael Jordan on how to improve your jump shot? Or are you
Right.
going to talk to the guy that got kicked off his, high school basketball team?
Mhm.
And actually, funny story, Michael Jordan was kicked off his high school basketball team, if I remember. But the reality is, you talk to the people, in my opinion, that are the best, because the people that are the best usually know the stories as to why the people are on the bottom. Is that fair to say in your experience?
Yeah, because it's what they've had to overcome. A lot of
Yeah.
those things, it's like, I think we all have some level of fear, doubt, self-sabotaging, voices in the back of our mind. We all have those.
Yes.
The achievers are the ones that are able to go past it or put it on the back shelf or not listen to it and do it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So look, you can do a couple $1,000,000 if you work hard and you focus, make nice profitability over 20%. And that's what I tell people. I mean, I had somebody ask me the other day, how much should I be able to make in a business? I heard some businesses you might only net 10%. So, well, the reality is you have write-offs. There's a reason to get into business ownership, but just the same, the S&P 500 is going to return 10.5%, since the 50s. But you don't get write-offs and certain advantages with it, just investing in Wall Street. So what are your thoughts in general on how people know they're ready for a business?
I think that's a good, honest gut check question. There are two kinds of lions in this world. There's those that belong in the zoo, and there's those that belong on the pride. And
Love that.
and it's a bad scenario to mix them up. Like you mix that up, and that lion's going to be unhealthy mentally, internally. I think that's really just a function of, are you willing to hunt for your food? And you got to have that gut check. You have to know this about yourself. None of us within franchising or a particular brand, none of us can solve that for you. That is yours to solve for. And that's part of the responsibility you take on as a business. Is the truth is, franchise or not, it's your business. And you have to be willing to wear that weight and own it and make it work for you.
Yeah. I like that answer. Let's talk about marketing.
Hmm?
A lot of people, I tell people all the time, my clientele especially, you need to see value in a franchise. If you can't see value in joining a franchise, that is not your culture, that is not your team, that is not your brand. What is the marketing like to help launch a Bloomin Blinds franchisee effectively?
Yeah, well, our world, fortunately, is fairly simple. We've got the digital environment, and then you have the community connection, who do you know and where are you networking, and how wide of a personal web can you cast. On the digital side, by and large, we try and automate as many of the minutia tasks as possible. The things that we can automate for franchise owners, we do. And digital marketing is one of those pieces. And recently, we've rebuilt our entire stack. We now have machine learning and AI running that marketing piece, and it's working way more efficiently than when we had humans running those programs.
I was impressed when you and I spoke a couple of weeks ago, when you were telling me all you were doing with AI, and you didn't tell me all of it. You just told me the tip of the iceberg, and I was like, whoa, some great stuff going on here. I wish I was a franchisee.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, at the point of this recording, like, we're the first franchise in all of franchising to rebuild their entire tech stack with machine learning, and the key part is predictive analytics. AI is a buzzword, and so I try and stay away from that a little bit because people just wash it with this generic, I use AI. The difference is we are building AI. And we're using that for marketing, customer engagement, operations, but then franchisees are able to use it for cash flow management and goal setting and employee retention and gamification. What we've done is we've gotten rid of all of the rental software, and we've rebuilt everything in our own house, our own environment. And because we own it, we get to build it specific to our pain points and solve for those.
Yeah.
So that's not marketing, but marketing is being controlled by these predictive analytics, and it's yielding fantastic results. The owners are still going out and kissing babies and shaking hands. That is a critical part. So in this particular franchise, I need a bit of a people person. And if you're not the people person, you need to hire somebody who is, because we need that community involvement. That is a good, healthy driver of the business. You don't want to rest on digital alone, regardless of how effective it is.
No, I love that answer. When I usually ask the question about marketing, technology somehow tends to sneak in there these days.
That's the world we live in.
I mean, look what marketing was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It was the yellow pages. Right?
I remember those days.
Exactly. Kelsey, you've been great. Final thoughts, final words of wisdom for the audience?
I want to circle back to that gut check side. Franchising is a powerful tool. It's a very effective way to get into business, to accelerate business. But you really have to look at it as a pillar of strength. You know, like you said, it may not be the right team for you. And I think people really need to make sure they're checking that and they're really evaluating that. And certainly if it's a hot brand or it's moving quick, can't let yourself get swept up into the noise and the FOMO of not being the next one.
Yeah.
It's too big of a choice to do it lightly. You have to be honest with yourself today and then in business if you're going that route.
I love that. Yeah, don't fall in lust with the brand, you know, make sure you take your time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing.
It is a thing. Thanks for being here, Kelsey. You're awesome, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, look forward to it too. Thanks, Lance.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.